Are you a CrossFit coach or maybe a box owner looking to learn more about nutrition? You want to help support the athletes that come to your box. Maybe you have some one-on-one clients. And we all know nutrition is the foundation. We all talk about the theoretical hierarchy of the development of a athlete. And nutrition is at the base. It's like building a house. You can't build the attic first. You can't worry about performance in sport without working on the foundation. And that's what nutrition is. So maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a box owner, maybe you're just an athlete looking to potentially earn a little more income, develop a new income stream as a nutrition coach. Well, you could check out the Own Your Eating certificate course. We review fundamental nutrition principles as well as teaching you how to implement flexible eating, that's macro counting, and assist others with their tracking of macros. The cool thing about it is you're going to learn so much for yourself. Even if you didn't want to coach anyone else, but you simply wanted to learn more about tracking macros, you will get so much out of this course. It'll be the last thing you ever have to read, study, purchase because you're going to get so much information, as well as sharing nutrition experience with you. Own Your Eating will also teach you how to coach others so that you can really make a difference with the people in your community and your lives. Maybe you need to finally get your mom to track macros. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe you put on the quarantine 15 and you're looking to just lose a few lbs, a few pounds yourself. This will teach you all of that. And the cool thing about macros, the cool thing about the way in which we at Own Your Eating teach you is it's really sustainable. The business setup and marketing strategies are also included. So if you do really want to make this a side deal or a side hustle, you'll have all the tools you'll ever need to do. And in addition to that, if you're a level 3 CrossFit coach, you can earn CEUs to help you revalidate. And we also give CEUs for NASM as well as AFA. So you can check that out. For me, every few years, I need to re-up my L4, no big deal, L4 coach, but this will help you do it. So if you're interested in learning more about the Own Your Eating certificate course, you can go to courses.ownyoureating.com. Or if you just go to ownyoureating.com, right up in the header there, it says Become a Coach. You can click on that. And with the code BEST HOUR, that's BESTHOUR, BEST HOUR, you'll get 15% off. Go check it out now. I was the one, along with Roz, who helped put this all together. So I really understand that if you have questions for me about it, of course you can reach out. But I really believe in it. I've put hundreds of people through this course. It's the way I learned how to track macros. It's the way I've been tracking macros for over 5 years. And I think you will absolutely love it. So go check it out again, courses.ownyoureating.com, and use that code BESTHOUR for 15% off. Go.
Okay, Jay, we got chapter 8, new genes, and you're fat again. So 2011, you had this reawakening. You look in the mirror and you notice that you've put on some weight, you've lost sight of your values, and then you set some rules. This is from the couple chapters ago. The rule is the rule. But now here we are in this chapter. This is a year or two later, and you're fat again, and you're operating under the do as I don't, or do as I say, not as I do type of coaching method. Tell me about this. What happened in that time frame from establishing your rules, but then all of a sudden putting on weight again?
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, you calling me fat. I was heavy, but I don't, people wouldn't necessarily come up to me and be like, that guy's fat. In fact, I think most people would have still seen me, especially dressed with clothes on, and be like, hey, that's a fit person. He's muscular.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, these are your words. You say in the
Yes.
text, I got fat. So I just thought I would rub it in a little more.
So, thick and husky. But what really went down is, especially in 2011, as you remember, the staff is growing and we really just ate out all the time. So,
Chipotle.
And that's why I said Chipotle, who was it? Nathan? Was that the manager?
Yeah, Nathan Vaughn.
Nathan Vaughn.
Shout
Shout
out.
out to
He's listening.
Nathan
Yeah.
for helping get me fat. But he would just give us every day. We would just walk over there and get Chipotle. How often were we going to the all-you-can-eat sushi place down the road?
Sushi X. The what was that? Wolf's 111. We'd go there quite a bit.
Oh yeah, and
Right there on
so it
Wolf
was
Road.
just yeah, it was just eating lunch out every day, probably 3 times a week, grabbing dinner, be it Chipotle at night. I mean, I think this is blending with the time that I was probably somewhat single. Caleb was a little single. Your girlfriend at the time lived in Binghamton, right?
Yep. Yep.
Murph, I think, was always single. So it's like all the coaches kind of like the stars aligned as far as being able to have some fun. Kevin was always in between different girls. So just a lot of eating out. I was still training very regularly at the time, and that's why I don't think I was ever fat. I just packed on weight to the point that I was about 170 pounds. For
So
reference, I'm 141.1 this morning.
so I mean, this is when all of us on the staff are we were all training. We would all hit the noon. Noon was quote unquote varsity. Remember varsity?
It's so funny. I just gave away the sweatshirt that somebody had given me that said
Oh,
varsity across
really?
it because I have so many clothes and it was just huge on me. But I
So I
just gave it
mean,
away.
we're all doing varsity. We're doing CrossFit. We're training pretty hard, but we weren't abiding by that rule that you can't out train a shitty diet. We were all just
Yeah,
we would do the noon, and then we'd be right over there at Chipotle, and then I know several of us it'd be Chipotle again for dinner. So two Chipotles in one day.
and mind you, listening, we're not doing the healthy Chipotle that you see the games athletes posting about these days.
No.
It was just load that bowl or burrito. I think one thing I would do is get a bowl, think it was healthier, but it was still like white rice, double guac, because Nate was just hooking it up for all of us.
Oh, I know. I know Caleb would get quad meat. I'd get quad meat. And
Yeah.
I tell people that. I tell people quad meat, and they're like, what? Is that a thing? I'm like, yes, you just ask for more.
And let me also let's take a step back for a second. When James was referring to the noon class, so I started doing the noon class. That became like one of my rules, and all the coaches would do it. And it was kind of that blend of, hey, the morning coaches would finish up their day and hit the noon class, and then the afternoon, evening coaches would come on board at noon and kind of get going for the rest of the day. Because as we've talked about, the last class at Albany CrossFit for years was at 8:30 p.m. So James might not have started till noon, but he also wasn't leaving the gym till 9:30
10.
or 10 most nights. But backlash. Speaking like these are the little things you don't think about as a gym. I started just joking around calling the noon class varsity. Like varsity trains at noon, who's showing up? You know, completely joking. And it spiraled a little bit. Adam got me that sweatshirt, a hoodie that said varsity on it I would wear. But the other classes actually got mad. Do you remember that we had
Yeah,
to nickname all the
yeah,
classes?
it to be fair, it started with the 8:30 class because we started coining ourselves as the Dirty 30. And
Right.
then right after that, it followed with varsity, and then every other class. Oh, well, actually, the oldest one though was Morning Mayhem. So the
Correct.
5:45, 5:30 a.m. To be fair, they were always Morning Mayhem. Then we were the Dirty 30, then varsity, and then all of a sudden, before you knew it, every class had like a name.
Well, and I think morning mayhem, no one cared about because they're like, fine, you want to train at 5:45 in the
Yeah,
morning, do that. But people got really upset that, and I think it was not just that we called it varsity, which has that connotation of it's like the best, but it was that the coaches were doing it,
yeah. There
so
was the
they were
coaches.
upset.
It was athletes like Kevin Seaman, Tiff. So like the our affiliate team at the time was also training then. And then I think maybe some people thought, okay, well, I can't go to that class. So we were kind of getting away from the everyone can do CrossFit at this time
CrossFit, yeah.
type of thing.
But lest you think anything at the box will happen without everyone, really critiquing it, it won't. Even something as simple as goofing around calling a class varsity.
Well, and then that just ties back into how we were all living our lifestyles. Like all eyes are on us at all times. So people are going to see what we're doing and they're going to analyze it. So people would see us training, but then they'd also see us, like posting pictures from Chipotle for the third time in a day, and they'd see our bowls. We would post pictures of the food we were eating,
Yeah, it's just really, it shows like, hey, if you're running a box, you have everyone's watching, all eyes on the owner, all eyes on the coaching staff, and sometimes it's really good. Other times there's a lot of jealousy.
Yeah, because people also want to be able to eat all that food. So, so this is the quote unquote from the text, the chubby affiliate owner phase. Um, you go into the store. What store was this? Do you remember even the store when you get these
Yeah, I
new?
believe it was the Gap. I mean, I'm like just a, you know, middle class white kid at the end of the day. And I think, that's just, I don't like shopping. I really, in the 20 years I lived in Albany, I probably went to that Cross Gates Mall, a half a dozen times. That wasn't going to the movies or a restaurant in there. But I remember, so what James is saying is I got up and I just couldn't fit into my jeans. Like literally they wouldn't, you wear Lulus or you wear your jeans tight. And then I think a lot of people have experienced it where you just try to throw those jeans on one time and it's not happening.
And it wasn't because the quads were bigger with muscle and all these other things. It was maybe a little fluff
No,
around the waist.
down the road, my legs got bigger, my butt got bigger, found out about a company called Relentless Jeans at the time, who's now become Edison Atlas Jeans. And I've become, a part of that company. But this is before then. Nowadays, those are the only jeans I wear. They're the most comfortable jeans. This is not a pitch, but if you haven't checked out Edison Atlas Jeans, I highly recommend it. But
Shameless plug.
no, these were just, I literally couldn't button it around my waist. And you used the phrase earlier that I've used, the chubby affiliate owner, and that seems to resonate. Every time I post something about that, people are like, I've been there, or I'm there right now, or I feel like I'm going there. It's similar to that fill your cup first, where if you're not taking care of yourself first, nothing else really matters.
This reminds me of you fitting into jeans. Reminds me of, it was probably around the same time. Remember that test where you would lay on the floor and you try to
Um,
roll the barbell over you, and if it hit your butt, wouldn't go. That meant you were extra thick in all the
yeah,
right ways.
yeah. So you lay them face down on the floor. You put 45s on the bar, and then if it clears your butt when it rolls over your body, you don't have a big enough butt. You don't have a squatter's butt. I don't think it clipped my butt though at the time. I think I might have like brushed it, but there was a handful of people like the bar stopped.
Yeah. That, hey, maybe one of the listeners like, hey, this is an awakening, and gonna do that test and do a little more extra squatting, some glute bridges, beef up the backside a little bit.
You can't go. I was just telling somebody the other day we were working out. We were doing some squats. We did some belt squats actually, which is my new favorite apparatus, the belt squat machine. And I told him like I remember up until CrossFit being very aware and self-conscious about my butt size because it was always big. Like I always had a decent sized butt, and I think it's just because I started squatting I started squatting at like 13. My first time at the gym, it wasn't necessarily leg day, but I immediately started incorporating legs and squats back in the day. So I was self-conscious, and it wasn't until CrossFit that I was like, wait, having a big butt is actually a good thing.
I think it's definitely more acceptable socially these days and sought after and desired.
I look at some men, especially, that have like no butts, really flat butts, and I'm like, how do you like? A, you probably look really bad naked. I think about, and B, I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's just an indication that you're not strong to me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
especially the guys that have a pretty solid upper body, and then they have like pants on and it's flat. I'm like, you need to squat.
This is, we're all getting an image of you just in the gym analyzing everybody.
This is mostly outside of
Mostly
outside of the
outside the
gym,
gym.
but yeah.
So 2011, you wake up, you look in the mirror, don't like what you see, realize that you need to make some changes. So you buy gym equipment for home and you start making training more of a priority. This time, this is probably like, who knows, maybe late 2012, somewhere, a year or so later, you're noticing you're slipping again. But you've already got the training dialed in, but you don't have the nutrition dialed in. So you start to research flexible eating. This is kind of when flexible eating comes into the picture. And up to this point, we had been diehard paleo, zone, paleo zone, the whole thing. We'd have the challenges, all that stuff.
And that was really our biggest mistake, is when we got involved in paleo. Not that it was a mistake. Paleo is a great nutrition plan. I see people to this day wildly successful with paleo, or more recently, like the carnivore diet. But the problem was, we all allowed each other to sway our view of what paleo was.
Yeah. Chocolate covered bacon.
Chocolate covered bacon was paleo. But like, when the reason we would go to Chipotle and or sushi is because we thought it was paleo. Rice was okay. I think that was really a Kevin Houston thing.
Yeah, with Kevin, it was the rice had to be steamed, so it would denature some of the enzymes in the rice that would make the rice
Yeah, it
toxic
had
to
to
you.
be white rice and all that stuff. So we were like, oh, it's paleo, or rice is okay for you. And that's a slippery slope, because that becomes, let's go get some red velvet cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, when because you've been depriving yourself for so long. So you start to research flexible eating and if it fits your macros. For anyone listening to this right now, it's not really discussed in the text. Can you just kind of briefly go over what is flexible eating?
Sure. Well, you can buy the book on
Yeah.
your eating, the original, I'm sorry, the definitive guide to flexible eating that James and I wrote together many, many years ago. So you can certainly do that. But flexible eating is simply the idea that, hey, based on your goal weight and your activity level, what you want to weigh, and how much activity you're doing both inside and outside of the gym. If you have an active job, you have a higher activity level. If you have a sedentary job, you have a lower activity level. And the goal weight is based around, not just the number on the scale, but how you want to look, how you want to feel, how you want to perform. And between those two variables, you get your, what we would call macros, the prescription for protein, carbs, and fat, which of course then equals your caloric consumption. So the if it fits your macros model is, hey, these are your numbers. Eat whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you have to hit those numbers. If you want to eat cinnamon toast crunch and deli turkey meat to hit your numbers, cool. It will work. And I promise you, if you're considering flexible eating, I still do it to this day. I have MyFitnessPal. I have a streak on there that's like beyond 6 years, so we can probably backtrack and figure out about when this whole thing started. But it was really eye-opening to me, because someone that considered themselves paleo, you realize, wow, not only am I having more carbs than I realized, but I'm having way more fat, you know, handfuls of cashews. Remember, Austin Malleolo used to just bring in the Costco-sized tubs of cashews that we would just dig into all day, thinking it was good for us. But and let me give a shout out to Ricky Long, now Ricky Tominski. She was the first one. So again, this was not timed out, but it just so happened to be right around January 1st, all of this was going down. And I had seen so much online. Everybody's posting pictures of the donuts back in the day. And in my mind, I'm very quickly writing it off. Like, this is fake, and, there's no way this works. And I try these jeans on and go through this whole scenario. And then I'm like, all right, you know what? I've got to give something a try. Reached out to my friend Ricky, who was coaching people at the time, hopped on the phone with me. She explained it all, and it was off to the races. I literally have never looked back.
I think it's important, that coaches and affiliate owners keep an open mind at all times. I remember when I first came to Albany CrossFit, it was diehard paleo. This was in the thick of it in 2011, in the summer there, and I would walk in with things that I used to eat, and you guys would freak out. I remember the nickname was DB Fresh and whatnot, because I was a little heavier at the time.
I was actually, as we were going through the videos, I felt bad because a lot of them, we would, I think it was Caleb, in my defense, that coined the moniker Doughboy or D-Boy Fresh. And we would call like Doughboy like dough, like money. So it was like this double entendre, but we all knew what we were saying.
Yeah. But when I got there and you guys were talking about paleo, I'm like, all right, well, my mindset has always been if I'm going to coach it and teach it someday, I need to do it. So I did it and lost a lot of weight that summer, and into the next year. But in the long term, it wasn't the most sustainable thing, which that's why I like flexible eating, because you're not depriving yourself and you don't have those big, cheesecake factory binge sessions when you're just gobbling it all in on a Sunday night. And then it just makes it harder to go back the next day.
Do you remember some of the things that we would make fun of you about, like specific foods?
Oh, well, rice was one of them. So Kevin was the only rice sympathizer in the group. But I remember I had a Tupperware filled with rice, and I remember Dean freaked out. He's like, that's enough. It's enough zone blocks for like a week. The amount of rice I had in the Tupperware tub,
Yeah,
you
and I
know.
think
And also
every
the fruit drinks. Like I'd come in, like the pre-made smoothie thing. I don't know the brand per se, but it says on the bottle like this bottle has 7 mangoes and 2 bananas and 2
oh, that's right,
apples.
the like Archer Fresh or something,
Yeah, something like that.
Archer Farms.
Archer Farms. I think that was you had an issue with that one.
Yeah, and it's funny because prior to CrossFit, I would drink a ton of those, like as I was involved in yoga and thinking I was doing good for my body. So,
Yeah.
you
Well, and
know,
then here I am thinking I'm being healthy because it's not soda, but of course you don't look at the amount of sugar that's in that thing. But it's like, hey, I'm getting in all these servings of fruit. I'm being economic on my time, not having to eat all this fruit. None of it's going bad. They didn't really teach us about paleo or sugar consumption or anything like that at the time in college. So when I went for my degree, so it's like, this is all good. And then all of a sudden, you guys are telling me something new. Maybe the approach was not the best, but again, I think from a coaching standpoint, I'm like, all right, well, I need to try it. So I think that's one thing that you can relate to as well. You were seeing the donuts being posted, and you're like, I don't know about this. I don't believe it. And then you had to try it for yourself.
yeah, and I really dove all in. I didn't kind of game the system. When I started flexible eating, it wasn't paleo. It was cinnamon toast crunch. It was mac and cheese. It was other foods. Like I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna really see if it works. And the weight started melting off. And you know, I I think something that's important to address that you're talking about is as a coach, as a box owner, or just a member, you need to be open minded about nutrition plans. And I think it's not like, we often say religion and politics, don't talk about it. But nutrition kind of falls into that
Yeah.
because it's there really is emotion involved. There's to some extent religion involved, family involved. So rather than just goofing on other people for what they're doing, educate them and start slow.
And I would say, if you look at Albany CrossFit back in 2011, 2012, it was like a hard, fast rule. This is paleo. Like I remember at the core club, because we were two businesses at the time, we would be in the office and we would watch the front desk staff at the core club eating McDonald's or ordering pizzas and stuff like that. And we were all just like completely above it and and disgusted by it. I mean, one, it's a gym, this is a fitness facility. Why are you sitting at the front desk eating McDonald's? Like that doesn't happen anymore. But it trickled down into everything we did. We were very hardcore about it. When people would come in with other views, like an on ramp, well, can I do this, that? It's like, nope, it's only paleo. You will die if you eat that bread. I remember it was okay. White bread is death, and then, all right, what about whole wheat bread? Slower death. You know, so that was the mindset. So but what we do now though is, and what you do now is, it's a more open-minded approach. You should accept everything because at least we're working on something and we can make steps to build off it from there. So let's talk more about uh, uh, managing nutrition in a box, in an affiliate, for the affiliate owner and coaches. What are some things to consider and how do you approach it?
One thing, like we've both just said, it's really be open minded. From the time we opened until the present day at Albany CrossFit, we've done everything. Like you said, it was paleo, it was zone, it was.
Whole
I'm sure
30.
the whole 30. We were the first. We were the first affiliate to host Melissa and Dallas at the time when they had just released their whole 30 book. And again, it wasn't just that we believed in it. We were hardcore. Like we were radicals, I would say, in a sense. Like You're either with us or against us. And it was
Yeah.
just a very bro mentality. I was just thinking as you were talking about that, like we never had a full-time female on staff. So like
No.
not just, and it wasn't like we were obviously not a, we would have loved to, but I think just the group of people, you know, that were drawn to CrossFit that we attracted were men. We certainly had plenty of female coaches, but you know, we had no females to kind of rein us in and be like, hey guys, you're being assholes. So be open-minded about it. And also, you know, like we talk about later in the book with Murph, start slowly. I think the mistake we often made was we did on-ramps, and hopefully throughout the book at some point we talk about the on-ramp progression at Albany CrossFit, but this is probably around the time we were doing 12 sessions.
Yep.
And
Month-long on-ramp.
it was a month long, and there was a very specific nutrition day, and it was talked about, but like James said, it was very black and white. And for a lot of people coming to a box for the first time, that's intimidating enough, let alone being told what they're doing is wrong and they have to go grocery shop and make these changes. So start slowly and be open-minded when it comes to nutrition.
Yeah, and it was our way or the highway. It was, do you want to look naked or not? Good look naked or not? If not, get out, you know. And do you remember there was the whole zone paleo Yelp incident thing that was also not probably handled as good as it could have been. There was the lady that battled with Kevin and then gave the review. Do you remember that?
Oh, the Yelp incident. Oh, do I remember that? That is the moment I lost my mind as a box owner. So you want me to?
It involved nutrition. Yeah. Let's talk about it a little bit here. This is a way. So this is how volatile nutrition can be, and we don't want to be afraid to talk about this topic. We want to approach it with science and education, and of course, open-mindedness. And this is when there was science and education, maybe not open-mindedness and willing to meet someone in the middle.
Well, and before I talk about the Yelp incident, the other thing we were complete assholes about were Kelly and David, I believe their names were, the married couple that were like a little hippie-ish.
I don't know if I remember them.
Kelly used to, when she had a baby, like nurse in the hallway. And
okay. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, we were bros. Like, we didn't care. Do whatever you want. Nurse your baby, sure. And I remember George, who was like a teenage boy, would walk. Remember George?
Yeah.
George would walk by and like, George, you cannot stare at this woman's breast. But anyway, they were vegetarians, and we were such assholes about it. Like, we accepted them, but I would always be like, you guys have to eat meat, like, because they were just like, they were getting stronger and fitter, but they just didn't look the same. Like, their body wasn't putting on muscle. But that's neither here nor there. But so the Yelp incident, I don't want to mess it up too bad, and I don't remember the girl's name, nor do I want to present it. But I remember just one night we were at the gym. It was late, and I got a notification on my phone that we got a 2-star Yelp review. And I was like, what is this? Like, who dare leave us a 2-star Yelp review? Go in, figure it out. It's actually a girl that was currently in our on-ramp. So she was currently in our on-ramp.
Still had sessions to do.
And left us a 2-star review. Now, is a 2-star review the worst thing? No, it's not. This place is terrible. But as a box owner, you know the deal. I'll only accept 5-star reviews. If you're listening to this book on Audible, leave a 5-star review, right? That's just, we put time and effort into it, and the box is no different. This book is no different. You bust your butt. You don't want a 2-star review. So it was, at that moment, it was like, unleash the hounds, right? Everybody, all of us that were still there, the coaching staff, our buddies that were hanging out, go on Yelp and just destroy this woman. And that's what happened. Yelp, I believe, eventually just took any review other than hers down. I believe I got banned. I've not used Yelp to this day because I don't like the system. Like, real people that were coming to the gym were leaving reviews and getting taken down. Yet this woman who didn't know us, her 2-star review stayed up. Turns out there's like a Yelp mafia, and they They all
Yeah.
got they all started attacking. It was us versus Yelp, and I think eventually it all got settled out. I think I actually hired a PR guy just to kind of deflect some of it, put up some good posts. He taught us how to do other things that rise above our Yelp review on a Google search, but who knows? We can dig a little bit and see if it's still out there. But anyway, not the best way to handle it, and it all stemmed from the nutrition talk on the on ramp. But she was a little crazy. I think anyone that has 1,000 Yelp reviews to their credit is a little crazy.
Yeah, I think it's widely known now. Like back then, Yelp was like a standard. You're like, oh my gosh, Yelp, and I remember actively going on Yelp to look up places. Now when I go, I don't even bother to go to Yelp. I don't believe any of it. I feel like their reputation has kind of suffered with maybe trying to like force businesses to pay money in order to get good reviews or good standing. Otherwise, they're going to bump up poor reviews to the top. Shady
Yeah,
practices.
it was all that, and then like you said, people would leave 5-star, like really good 5-star reviews, like actual members at the gym, and they would either completely disappear or there was like a hidden section, but the bad ones would stay there. And then, once it became this war, us versus Yelp, people that weren't coming to the gym, they were leaving bad reviews, but I did not handle that well.
Well, this is what I see a lot of now. Like when I look up like a hotel or something like that on Google, you'll see the reviews, and I'll just read the reviews, get an idea. Okay, are there bugs in the room? Is it crazy? And I'll see someone make a response to the reviews, and it's typically like a manager, like, "Hey, thank you for that feedback. Here's my number. Can I talk to you? How can we make this right?" That's typically how you want to handle a bad review, with
Yes.
positivity and seeing if you can meet with that person and talk about it.
Yes,
Other
if
than,
you're a
other than releasing the hounds of Albany CrossFit,
if
meaning the entire membership.
if I could do it again, and the advice I would give out would be just what you said, James. I should have, knowing that this girl was still coming to the gym, I should have just waited till she came back to the next on ramp class, which is probably, no more than 48 hours away, and spoken to her. But secondly, like you said, if you do get a bad review from a drop in per se that you don't have the opportunity to talk to, or somebody that leaves your gym, like you said, address it politely, kindly, on whether it's a Google review, a Yelp review, or whatever's out there these days. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and you don't want to repost it on your social media. Look at this horrible person, anything like that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I think it might be on the YouTube channel. I think there was a response video.
All right,
I
I'll
think
find
I
it.
think you held a State of the Union address after this. Like, like that was that's how like it just like rocked the entire community so much. I'm
it,
pretty. I think in that video you might have told people, please don't go on and engage anymore and stuff like that. There's a video out there of this.
as you said that, I do remember I did do something like that. So I'll have to I'll have to look for that as well, and of course, post it on the page with all of the links,
Yeah.
that we discussed throughout the episode. And as you were talking about that, you said State of the Union. I remember there was like different evolutions of videos early back in the day when we had the TypePad site. There was this site. I don't remember what it was, but you can basically go live from your computer, and anyone that was currently on your site, it would actually pick up, and you would hear you talking.
That's pretty cool.
And I would do that every night. Like I would go home from the box, and every night I would get on there. I would do a recap of the day. I would talk about it. And I mean, now in retrospect, I'm like, the ego that I had was way too big. Like no one gives a shit
That's like
about that.
that was like old school, Instagram live streaming or Facebook live streaming.
It's really what it was. But I remember people would be like, telling me, "Oh, I was, had website open. All of a sudden, I hear your voice, and I didn't know what was going on." But too much. It was just like another one of those things that I was like, was that necessary? Absolutely not.
What you should have done is just randomly log in and just say, "Hey, I see you eating that," or whatever. Like so they kind of think that you can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
them. You know. Now, do you think though? Would you say that doing stuff like that made people in the community feel closer to you overall, though, for better or worse?
Yeah, a lot of those things in retrospect, I think, were maybe a little silly, or maybe time consuming, or not, shouldn't have been as high a priority. But I also think those things did develop the community. You know, what's cool about CrossFit is, for most of us, when we found CrossFit or currently find it, you're out of college for a lot of people. You don't really have a clique or group of friends. You're kind of like, what's next? Like, you're not playing a sport, and CrossFit is that community. So you just want to be as close to that community as you possibly can. And the more we could do like that to make people feel attached, and to feel like, hey, even when I'm not there, I'm a part of something, the better. I mean, I think it's pretty apparent why people that maybe have had addictions in the past get so drawn to CrossFit, because it helps fill that void. You see a lot of people that are in relationships they're not happy with because it fills that void, and of course, just some happy people as well. But yeah, CrossFit really can mean so much to a lot of the members.
And I think too, as you being the head of the organization and the face of the business, it's also, they feel like they know you, like even if they don't get to interact with you all the time, and they're not in when you're in, they still feel like they know you, because you are very transparent. There's no surprises, and you just put your complete self out there with all these little things, all the videos, the live streaming through the website. So I feel like people, if they feel like they get to know you well, they feel like more attached to that community.
Yeah, while maybe some of these things weren't necessary in retrospect, you're right. They definitely made people feel like they were a part of something and had a close relationship to me. And probably to my detriment, I tried to have a close relationship with everybody at the box.
Yeah, like, well, for better or worse, And I
Exactly.
think it's I think if you're not trying to have a relationship with almost everyone at the box, it's like you're almost not trying hard enough,
Yes. And
because
it's
they want that relationship with you.
yeah. If you're a box owner, like, and I can even tell you, like, to this day, like, when I've trained jujitsu at different schools, like, you want to create that relationship with the owner, the head instructor, whoever it is. Like, it's just natural. You want to be attached to the big dog wherever you are.
Yeah, and I would say the people that you could see that they were developing a more elaborate relationship with you, they were more bought into everything Albany CrossFit and the business. Those are the people who are wearing the T-shirts, coming to all the events. They're commenting on posts. Instead of you make a post and it just stays quiet and everyone views it. You can see everyone sees your post, and a couple people like it, but no one actually comments,
Yeah.
even though you
Or
ask questions.
I remember plenty of times we would, during times of expansion, just during times we were cleaning, people would show up and volunteer, like, to paint. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even want to paint my house, let alone someone's gym. But people were, because you have that buy-in, they feel a part of something. And I think that's important, and obviously give back. I think anytime we did something like that, it was, whether we would take them out after, get pizza and beer or whatever would go on. But yeah, you want those people to have that buy-in, and those are your diehard members that will stay forever.
That reminds me of the first level one in the Capital District, right at Albany CrossFit, and the Dirty 30, the A30 class came out and helped clean the whole gym.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make it spotless for the level one. I have a very vivid memory of Teresa painting the upstairs hallway. And I'm like, I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, wow, this girl's got a real job. She was, I think, engaged at the time. And it's like, wow, she's here painting. Like, she cares about this. And it was really, it's cool to see that you can have such an impact on people's lives.
Yeah. Well, how do you, as a box owner, how do you allow and rein in members having that kind of an ownership in the business?
I think you have to set a lot of rules and boundaries. It's so hard this day and age to not give out your cell phone number, because even if they don't have your number, they have your Instagram or Facebook. There's always a way to get to your phone.
Yeah.
So, but I would say try to limit that. And if you can't limit it, I mean, one, your number should not be the phone number on the website. At a minimum, get yourself a Google phone number. So it goes to an app or multiple people can log in and see the voicemails or texts. I know we use that for many years at Albany CrossFit, but beyond that, just, goes back to those rules. At least set boundaries. Like, hey, if they do have your number, there comes a time at the end of the day, be it 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, where it doesn't matter. I'm not responding to you. Same thing on the weekends. Don't discount rates because of those people. It's very easy to be like, well, you're painting here, you're giving your time. Let me discount your rate going forward. Set those rules. Like, hey, if you want to be here and hang out and volunteer, we'd love it. But you're still a standard member, and we still are going to hold you to the same expectations of everybody else. And do your best, which is challenging. It's like having, like, you ask a parent their favorite kid. Like, try not to make it a parent like we did going back to that varsity class, that this is, these are our buddies and this is who we like training with, and we don't care about the rest of you.
Yeah, and very limit the special treatment, or pretty much have no special treatment.
Yeah, have no special treatment. If you're going to invite Teresa out for Chipotle, make sure you're inviting, Joe out for Chipotle as well. Make sure you're not basing it on how much they help you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I told you I'm doing the safe sport training, and that's one of the things that popped up. It's if you're going out for ice cream, let the whole team know that you're going out for ice cream. Then they get to decide if they want to go.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone to feel left out, because everyone wants to be involved. And if they feel left out, they're going to start seeking out, acceptance elsewhere.
Absolutely. I think that's got to be a rule.
So during this chapter, New Jeans, we, with the Chubby affiliate owner, we started doing flexible eating. You started implementing flexible eating with clients. Not that you hadn't already been working at Albany CrossFit with nutrition for people. We'd always done that. This is just a different method, and we're being more open-minded about things. But right at the end of the chapter, you never got the jeans, and that's what really sparked the change. So it's kind of cool that success and positive change came with not doing something, versus, okay, I'm just going to settle now and I'm going to buy these jeans, and these jeans are the way it is. Can you just explain that mindset a little bit more, and how you can maybe say no to something and still find success?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember I had the jeans, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get these. I need bigger jeans. And then you take a step back and you realize, well, if I buy these jeans, I'm accepting where I am and where I'm going. No different than you put on a little weight and you start throwing out the smaller clothes in your closet. Like, if you do that, it's done. It's over. You've accepted it. So
Yeah.
I went home, and while I couldn't put those jeans on, I had, other pants that fit. I had Lululemon pants, I'm sure, that I could throw on that had an elastic waist. And it was my way of saying, okay, enough is enough. I've got to make a change. And I think we all have that in our lives at times, where you realize, all right, if I take a step forward in this direction, it means I'm not going to hit my goal over in this direction.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what's something that an affiliate owner can do right now to find that success and make that change? And also, on the flip side, with the nutrition, maybe start to implement nutrition in their box.
Yeah, I think if you're a box owner listening to this, what I would probably do is make sure you have some nutrition protocol. Maybe have a little nutrition get together, a seminar. We used to do potlucks, things like that, where you're at least bringing in everyone and you can talk about it.
Keep an ongoing conversation, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, nutrition is what people talk about. 80-90% of how you're going to look, feel, and perform. If you're only working out, like you mentioned earlier, you can't out train a shitty diet, and nutrition has to be at the forefront of that. So, I don't want to. There's so many other great options these days with hiring nutrition coaches or bringing in companies that can help you at your box or provide seminars. Roz and I spent a summer on the road going from box to box talking about nutrition with Own Your Eating. But there's so many options out there. And then for everybody else, I would just, think about one thing in your life where you've accepted your failure and allowed that to just be who you are now, versus saying, no, I refuse to fail here and I'm going to actually be better because of it.
So what would you say is an appropriate assignment for this then, for the listener, how can they implement some of this knowledge here,
Oh, you're
either
trying to
at the box or for themselves?
you're trying to dig a challenge out of me for this
Yep.
chapter. Here's what I would say. I would keep it super simple. Let's say you just listen to this chapter, and maybe within the next, let's call it 72 hours, the next 3 days, say no to one thing. And it could be anything, but say no to something that's not leading you towards your goals.
It could be saying no to going to Chipotle.
Right. It could be, hey, no, if I go to Chipotle with you, we all say yes to so many things these days, and we're so busy. And 2020, I'm just starting to get better at that. I still want to be, we all have FOMO, that fear of missing out. So you're like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you say yes to so many things and you don't get to live the life you want. So pick one thing, say no to it, and then we'll put the challenge on the website, but maybe DM me. This isn't one where you can take a picture of what you said no to, like take a picture of your buddy and be like, I said no to going out with this guy.
And
But
they have a sad face.
yeah, let me know what you said no to, because I think everybody, I forget who said it, but I think it was Seth Godin, the same guy that helped me come up with those rules. But he had the expression, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no. And this is a little bit off topic, right? The jeans weren't going to be a hell yeah or a hell no, but it was a decision I made right then, no, to kind of steer me back on course. So find something in your life that's not a hell yeah, say no to it, and let us know what it was.
Perfect. And when you said no to those jeans, you didn't give yourself any other option but to go the other way and find success.
Yeah, and I mean, in fact, long term, I wound up getting rid of all of my bigger clothes. I wear, primarily smalls and mediums to this day, and I'm also, to this day, nearly 30 pounds lighter than I was on that fateful day at the Gap. And it's because of not only just flexible eating, which hey, the challenge for this book is, for this chapter, is to go buy the flexible eating
Yeah, there we
book
go.
that James and I wrote. But it was more so that it truly was that catalyst to, like, nutrition is always going to be a priority for me. And I tell that to people all the time. Like, it doesn't matter how busy you are, doesn't matter where you are, eating right is always an option. It's always an option. That doesn't mean it's the easiest option. You're on the road at the airport and there's a McDonald's right there, and then there's like one of those like 2-day-old salads, at the news shop. There's still that option. Or it's don't eat till you land somewhere, or it's prepare your food before you go. But eating right is always an option. We have minimal impact over the programming at the box that you're going to hit, over the CrossFit Open that you're going to hit, over whether or not your child's going to wake you up during the night, how you're going to lift at the Arnold, that you're heading to soon. But no one is ever forcing food down your throat. And that was kind of what I learned. Like, these are my decisions. Going to Chipotle and going to sushi was often the lazy decision versus doing what was right for me.
Definitely. And you've moved past the attitude of do as I say, not as I do. And I guess maybe that would be something that everyone can kind of take from this audio is do as we say here, not as we did. Learn from those mistakes in the early days of Albany CrossFit and from the book here.
Yeah, and lastly, be open-minded, right? Making fun of someone because they're eating rice or drinking juice, they often just don't know. And that's what you have to remember.
Or it's just what they believe in.
We good?
We're good. That's good.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't already, do us a favor, head over to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback for either Fern or myself, hit us up, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram at Best Hour of Their Day. Once again, we couldn't do this without the amazing community, and you are a part of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting Best Hour of Their Day.